What a view. What a view, am I right? It's funny because about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago when I got here, this was all clouded up and I couldn't even see the peaks back there. I didn't even actually realize they were right there. And wow, this view is actually fantastic. I'm here at Vista Pass, which isn't unfortunately where I wanted to get to today, but just gotta listen to the body when you're out here, and I got pretty tired towards my last section of the trek here, and just decided to listen to the body and not push it too much. But yeah, let's recap real quick, kind of how I got here. What the scoop is. So it's about a 10-hour drive nonstop from Spokane to the Green Lakes trailhead here in the Wind River Range. Um, it's about 11 hours with the stops and then 12 hours with the time change. So 12-hour travel to get here. Um, the trail road is not great for cars, but you could definitely take it if you have a small car. That's what I did for my first 10 to 12 years backpacking. And yeah, my little car from back in the day could have made it, but it wouldn't have been fun. Four-wheel drive or just something with high clearance. You don't need four-wheel drive, but something with high clearance is definitely better. One thing that's really nice about that trail road, though, is there is endless camping all up and down it, and it is really good. It is really, really good. The Green River is running right through all of that valley, leading to the trailhead, and so the camping is just fantastic out there, all the way up to the trailhead. Um, I highly encourage camping there the night before you start. But today I got started right about 8 o'clock, um, and the first couple of miles you go past lower and upper Green Lakes, which are beautiful. But then that next 7 miles or so, you're following the Green River the entire way, and that thing is beautiful. I didn't even essentially appreciate it enough until I was a couple of miles into the river hike, and just there's some absolutely beautiful sections in there, and similar to the trail road, there is a lot of camping all up and down that area. Um, just tons of camping all over out here. You really, I honestly, I don't know that you can pick a bad spot so far. Being objective, I kind of would call my spot a bad spot, given that I have this kind of marshier, more or less pond behind me. But I mean, look at this view. Are you kidding me? The view is incredible. Now the water situation is not great here at Vista Pass. I just had to trek a little bit over here to get spring water coming off of the other pass over here. Since these ponds, there's a couple of them in here, are just a little too marshy, and I'm not trying to mess with that in terms of getting near it, as well as just not the best quality water, although you'd be fine. But yeah, it was really kind of a dreary hike all day. It only sprinkled on me for an hour or so, but never really had any true rain. I kind of expect some tonight, although the blue skies have been starting to pop out here now, and so maybe this is just the beginning of what's supposed to be a really good weather week. So, knock on wood, but it looks really, really good the next several days, and everybody's been saying that's been out here that it was real wet last few days, and in fact, that's fresh snow up there on all those peaks. They said it snowed a couple of times over the last few days, so fresh snow on the peaks. Won't be shocked at all if we get more of it. When it gets cold, it gets real cold out here. It's supposed to be around 32 tonight, so I might have some frost on the tent and all that. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't make it to where I was hoping to make it to, and everybody from the guidebooks to the people on trail was saying that Peak Lake up and over this pass back here, sitting beneath all those beautiful peaks, of course, is supposed to be spectacular. And so I just didn't have that last little bit of stamina in me. It really wasn't too much further or too much harder, but I was kind of starting to really, count every half mile over the last 3 or 4 miles. And the thing that's interesting with this hike so far is you hike 11 miles through the or along the Green River and the Green Lakes, and that 11 miles is almost entirely flat. I think I did like 500 feet of elevation in 11 miles. And then from there, you really start climbing consistently and steadily. It's not all that hard. I think the elevation got to me a little bit. Day one, pack's heavy, all that kind of combined. So still did 16 miles. I mean, I'm not upset with it. I had ambitions to get over to that campsite, but either way, I'm going to see it tomorrow, so all is well. And tomorrow's plan is basically get up and over this pass, the Peak Lake, up and over the next pass, which is Shannon Pass, and that takes me into the meat and potatoes of this entire Wind River area. So Upper Jean Lake is up there, Elbow Lake, and then literally dozens and dozens and dozens of other lakes up there. And so at this exact moment, I don't even know what my precise plan is right now. I'm going to kind of try to figure that out here after dinner. But yeah, it just, kind of similarly, I guess, it depends on how the body's feeling. I know for sure I'm going to go to Titcomb Basin, which is kind of the marquee attraction out here. Not that everything else isn't beautiful. But yeah, I know I'm going to go there. And then, if I'm feeling really, really good, I'll make it out to Sapphire Lake, which is out towards Elkhart Trailhead, towards the other key starting point to get in here. So we'll see. I don't have to have the pack on for too long, but I want to day hike quite a bit and get into Titcomb Basin particularly. And I have my eyes on a couple small peaks that are nearby that give you really good viewpoints, but we'll see. Having this 2 miles or so, or 3 miles, whatever it is, away from Peak Lake could come back to bite me on that part of the plan, but either way, all is well. And again, I'm pretty grateful that I first off made it here with no real issues, no real weather issues. It was cool and refreshing, in fact cold even at times, and then this view, like it doesn't get a whole lot better. I'm sure it will on the other side, I guess, but anyways, all in all, good day. And I'm gonna eat dinner and then try to get an early night's sleep and a lot of sleep so that I wake up nice and recharged and early in the morning. I definitely need to get an early start to put some 25 miles in tomorrow. We'll see, if the body allows, that is. So all in all, good day. Might be the best campsite view I've ever had. Hard to say, but this one's definitely up there. Today was really good, as you saw. The views were incredible. It was a slow day though. Elevation's kicking my ass. Not gonna lie. A surprising amount too. I'm just moving slower than I normally would, and um, had a headache the entire night last night. So it's playing a little bit of a factor for sure, but that just is part of the elements. So all in all, today was just fantastic. It's hard to imagine better views out of a single day of hiking than what I got today. Um, I left Vista Pass this morning pretty late again, unfortunately, around like 8 o'clock. I forgot to set an alarm clock. And so left Vista Pass then, got my ass kicked going up Cube Rock Pass. That thing just sucks. Just tons of small rocks and big rocks, and that thing just sucked. But Dale Lake was beautiful. Peak Lake was incredible. All the peaks around there just make that lake just stand out. Going up to Shannon Pass wasn't so bad, but continued to get my ass whooped. And once you get up to Shannon Pass, though, for the next, 5 miles or so, just going downhill um, through the Jean Lakes, and just following that creek is absolutely gorgeous. The views are just truly incredible, and every one of the lakes is spectacular. Even the just little tarns here and there are they're just magnificent. So that whole stretch was just, yeah, I mean, enough with those superlatives, but it was great. So here I am now, though, at Island Lake, which I have to imagine is probably one of the most busy, if not busiest, lake in this entire wilderness. Titcomb Basin is right here back behind me, the most grand set of peaks back here, and the basin and valley of lakes is right back there, and so this is a pretty common spot for people to base camp and all sorts of things. Um, but yeah, there's plenty of people here. There's ample camping though, so that's the one nice thing. I'm sure in late July, August, this is even more crowded. But I've got just a fantastic campsite right here, and yeah, so all in all, I can't complain about that. And I mean, I'm separated by the people. I don't hardly hear anyone, so all is well. Yeah, so tomorrow, I probably should have hiked a bit further today. I just got a little tired, and the IT band on my left hip here is really not liking me right now. In fact, it's pretty aggravated. So I'm just kind of having to baby that. Um, but like I said, I probably should have hiked a little further today. I probably should have got somewhere over here um, on the other side of the lake, because tomorrow I'm going to go into Titcomb Basin, just a quick pop in there, get the views, take a look at what I came here for, and eat breakfast, and And then from there, I'm going to come back, pack my stuff up, and then I've got a 12-mile hike down to Elkhart Trailhead, which is a very common starting point. And right below that is Long Lake, and that's where I'm intending to camp. If not Long Lake, just somewhere in that little creek valley there. So it's going to be a very, very, very long day for me. I'm not sure how the body will be feeling tomorrow and holding up, but all in all, tomorrow is going to be as good as any day I've ever had on trail also. I'll probably pass more than a dozen, maybe even 24 lakes. Actually, I'll probably easily hit 24 lakes now that I think about it. There's, 6 or 7 right back here. So yeah, I'll easily hit 24 lakes just tomorrow. And yeah, by the time I finish tomorrow, and assuming I can get to where I'm trying to get in Long Lake, that'll mark the halfway point for me. And so I did 10 miles today, something like that, 10 something. And so yeah, by the time I get down there, we'll be up around 45 or something like that. But anyways, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to kind of hang out here, just ate dinner, just kind of clean up my camp here, and get ready to call it an evening here sooner than later. But for the moment being, just going to soak in these views and just enjoy every last bit of it. So, cheers. All right, welcome to day 4 out here in the winds. First day of the back half of my trip. Uh, got 3 more days to go, so should be a great day again. Just gonna recap real quickly yesterday since I didn't get a chance to last night. Um, I camped at Island Lake the day before, and spectacular campsite. The sunrise there, as you saw, was just absolutely top tier. That view from that campsite, and really most all of the campsites there, just truly pretty incredible. Um, I mean, I think that spot alone sells a lot of people on the winds, at least I have to imagine, given the amount of people that were there. Just a beautiful, beautiful place, though. But I woke up real early to watch the sunrise and then hit the trail to go up to Titcomb Basin. I was the first person on the trail that morning, which was really nice. I didn't see a single person until I was heading out of there. And that entire section from Island Lake around into Titcomb Basin, the entire trail is really easy and it's absolutely beautiful. And so it's completely worth your while. I mean, really, like I said earlier, I feel like that just sells you on the winds, is that section alone. Um, Went and climbed a unnamed peak in between the two Titcomb Basin lakes, which gave me an incredible vantage point to see that entire area. Just made everything so much more worthwhile, that viewpoint. So it was about 7 miles of a day hike from my camp to the basin, up the peak, and then back, which took, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, something like that. And then when I got back to camp, packed up everything, hit the trail to get down here to Long Lake, and I guess with that name in mind, everything took longer yesterday than I anticipated. It was 14 to 15 miles from Island Lake at my campsite to Long Lake here. Um, Lots and lots and lots and lots of lakes. Lots of lakes. There might have been 30 lakes in that 14, 15 mile stretch. What's kind of interesting though is I think the winds has raised my expectation of what a really stunning backpacking lake is. Because, you know, Island Lake and Upper Jean Lake and the Green Lakes and kind of all the lakes leading up to Island Lake are just so stunning. And from Island Lake down to Elkhart, there's plenty of great lakes. But honestly, they don't really live up to the other lakes, in my opinion. The campsites are just kind of meh. And so, by no means am I saying they're bad at all. I think they're just kind of standard backpacking lakes on most any other trip. You'd probably think they were great, and myself included. But just given what I had already seen in this trip, it didn't do anything special for me on those lakes. But the views were still really good. Photographer's Point, holy hell is that a view. I mean, that is just a can't miss spot on the trail. Do not take the other route that does not take you to Photographer's Point. It's only about 4.5 miles or so from Elkhart. That is just an absolute must stop at. That view is just truly incredible. One of the best I've ever seen. The amount of miles you can see from that one spot is pretty impressive. It was also just cool to see that I was on the other side of that vantage point, and thinking about, you know, where I'd be today and tomorrow from that viewpoint was pretty cool. So I spent a fair amount of time there and just soaking it in and enjoying it, of course. And then from there down to Elkhart, like I said, it's about 4.5, 5 miles, but man, did it sure feel longer than that. I was moving pretty quickly, and I mean, goodness, it just seemed to take forever. By the time I got to Elkhart, it was 7 p.m., and of course I was tired. I was at 18 or 19 miles at that point, and on the sign down to Long Lake, it says the original marking is 2 miles to Long Lake, and then someone has added a plus sign as well as an exclamation point. And I think that's mostly justified because it's certainly longer than 2 miles. It's closer to 3, I think, than it is 2 even. And that trail really is not like everything else you've done out here. It's a lot more rugged, a lot more narrow. There's a lot more rocky obstacles in your way and things of that nature. And I'd imagine that if you're doing it earlier in the year, it's quite a headache of a trail. And in fact, I have to imagine it's off, if the truth be told. There's just so much opportunities for blowdowns, and you can see where they've cleaned it up just repeatedly throughout that trail. But unless you're doing it late in the year like I am here in September, that trail is probably a bit of a headache. So caution yourself on that, depending on when you're doing that. But yeah, like I said, all in all, yesterday was just full of pretty spectacular views. And while it was one of the longer, harder days on trail I've ever had, I think the views just make it all the worthwhile. And it was a very complete day. I think I was up at 6 and didn't truly lay down until about 10 p.m. or so. So that said, though, today's going to be a shorter day. Unfortunately, I'm just not going to get the distance out of the day that I would have originally hoped for and planned for. But that just kind of is what it is. I think anywhere in the 8 to 10 mile range is solid today. And I'm kind of thinking, just based on this, saying this now, that my trip, instead of it being more of a traditional complete loop, it's going to be more of a really big lollipop style loop. Just based on the distance I need to cover in the next 3 days. And so today I have to go 2,000 feet up in about 2.5 miles right out of the gate here. So that's going to kick my butt. It's much warmer than it's been on any other day, which contributed to it being challenging for me to sleep last night. But it's much, much warmer today than it's been on any of the other days, and we're not even at 12 o'clock yet. So I'm sure the rest of it's going to be beautiful up here, though, today, and just kind of take it one step at a time. And honestly, like I said, not really even sure where I'm going to end up camping. Just kind of play it by ear and try not to camp or hike in the night, and find somewhere that I can set up, hopefully around maybe 6:30 to 7 p.m. tonight. So we'll see how far I can get, and yeah, just looking forward to making the most of the day. So. Alright, good evening. Coming to a close here on day 4. I'm at Trapper Lake, which is a beautiful lake. Pretty big lake as well. If you're checking the maps at all, or this far along in the video at this point, probably know this isn't quite as far as I was hoping to get today. Only made it about a little more than 6.5 miles or so. Just really didn't have anything in the tank today. The first climb right out of the gate, it's roughly 1,700 feet or so in 2.5 miles. It just took everything out of me. It was in the dead of the heat for the most part, and it was actually surprisingly warm today. But just from the get-go, just, you know, the moment I crawled out of bed to the moment I got here, just really didn't have a lot of stamina, and therefore the hike just took a lot out of me. And so you know, coming from that really long day yesterday, and then practically not even sleeping, it just I was exhausted all day. So kind of is what it is. That seems to be the case for me occasionally on trail. This happened to me a couple months ago in the Beartooth, and I could only muster up a 7.5 mile day, and it just, yeah, it kind of is what it is. And fortunately, it doesn't penalize me too much, really. Um, I kind of had shifted gears yesterday evening on doing the complete loop to doing a lollipop loop, just because I really don't think I have enough days in me currently, in terms of before I have to go back to work, um, to do that full complete loop. I think that complete loop would be 90 to 100 miles, and I just don't have enough time. Even if I had put some good distance on today, it just would have been asking a lot for me to do that, and then have a 12-hour drive home. So yeah, this makes more sense. And so anyways, Trapper Lake, like I said, beautiful lake, great fishing lake. There has been fish jumping for last couple hours now, and I've already ate and had a nice little fire going here for a while. I don't usually make a fire when I'm by myself, but just kind of felt right today, and so I did, which has been nice. And dove in the lake, which really needed that. That cleaned off the body and just kind of refreshed the soul a little bit there. And yeah, that was really nice. So today's hike too, really, honestly, it wasn't very scenic at all. I have to assume this is probably the least scenic part of this entire journey. You know, thank goodness for that quality ridgeline view that I got at the top of the pass. And then again, this lake is beautiful, but just kind of everything before and after the ridge is just kind of meh. You're just socked in the woods, and the lakes are all very kind of swampy, marshy looking ish, for the most part, at least. I mean, Little Trapper Lake a little bit back here was not too bad. I have noticed that every lake I've seen today has lily pads, which is kind of interesting. I haven't seen any on the other side of the mountains, and every one of these, including this lake, has lily pads in them. So we'll see if that theme continues tomorrow, but yeah. So I'm going to shut her down here shortly and crawl in and hopefully get a nice night's rest. And plan tomorrow is to do a good 15, maybe more. Just kind of, you know, as always, just play it by ear. Don't have a set destination. For the most part, haven't this entire trip. But yeah, just ideally I want to get down somewhere along the Green River again, below the pass, and off the highland down there into the Green River section. So not sure exactly how far I'll get down there, but yeah, we'll see what comes and how I'm feeling. And all in all, it's still been a really, really good trip. If I had more days to do this, there's just so much exploration that can be done out here. This side actually has you can't even count how many lakes are out here. You could see 100 lakes in 3-4 days if you really wanted. So you know, maybe one of these days I'm back in this section. But yeah, just all in all, it's still been a good trip. Just pretty wiped out today from mostly yesterday, and hoping tomorrow is a real nice complete day. And I know the scenery is going to be fantastic tomorrow as well, because I'm going to pass countless lakes once again. And just, yeah, getting back down to the Green River, which is just truly beautiful. So, anyways, I'm going to shut her down and call it a night. Let's go. Amazing what happens when you give a man a little bit of rest. As you figured out by now, I managed to hike out yesterday, and that really never was the plan, but um, after I left Summit Lake and got to the junction below the pass there, I realized that I had the time to do it, um, and not hike through the dark. I basically got to the trailhead like at sunset, um, and then now I'm just down the road a little bit at one of the many free campsites along the Green River here, and they're all really good too. So if you're coming this way, you know, expect to camp along the river before your hike, or plan to, I should say, because they're just really nice campsites. They're all dispersed camping for the most part. There's traditional paid campsites at the trailhead and stuff, but I have no idea why you would need to when you have all this free camping and right next to the river. So, all in all, though, just a truly incredible trip. Yesterday, in general, was really good. The first 6.5 miles or so from Trapper Lake to Summit Lake was incredibly peaceful. Just very quiet. Didn't see anybody on that whole stretch. A few lakes here and there, all of which seemed to be a little marshy and, you know, with the lily pads and stuff again. So not really sure what exactly created that consistency on that side of the range, but literally every lake I went to out there had lily pads in them. But the highlights there, I would say Trapper Lake is a great lake. It's a big lake, plenty of camping. Borum Lake, though, is undoubtedly the best lake there and the most scenic lake in that stretch, from basically Elkhart all the way up to Summit Lake. If you're anywhere in there, if you're planning to hike anywhere in there, Borum Lake, put it on your itinerary. That is a spot you honestly don't really want to miss. If I could do it again, I would have planned to camp there. It's a really nice lake. But then Summit Lake is truly spectacular. It deserves all the press and hype that it got from everybody on trail and the guidebooks. Just a spectacular spot. And it's not even as much that the lake is that amazing as much as it is just the surrounding scenery. And what I thought was kind of interesting was it's at a low point in that entire surrounding area, yet you have a 360-degree view, which I'm not sure if I've even ever seen before. So everything around you is higher than you, but you can see in full 360, which is just pretty unique. You know, usually it's the opposite. You have to be up high to get the full 360. I would highly recommend trying to camp there again also if you can. Put it in your itinerary. I think that's probably also the best opportunity to see wildlife, given that there is probably 10 different valleys that are bleeding into that area. So it's, I would assume, one of your best opportunities to see, you name it, your type of big game. Now that said, I saw absolutely nothing until literally about a half mile from the trailhead when I saw one mule deer. But since it's on trail, I'm counting it. Was a doe. But anyways, it just kind of made me chuckle. I literally didn't see. I never even saw a marmot. Chipmunks, pikas for days, all the birds. But I never saw any ounce of unique wildlife, if you will. So, yeah, I think, you know, just other than that, my highlights, I think just in order of how I hiked it, the Green River is spectacular. Don't feel bad camping there either on the way up or down, whether it's a short hike in or you know, you made it a long ways and you just want a couple miles out to the car and not do what I did. The Green River is spectacular. There's just camping all up and down it, and it is so peaceful. And the views to Square Top Mountain and all the surrounding peaks are just incredible. From there, Peak Lake is fantastic, right below Shannon Pass. I saw no one there, and it's a beautiful lake surrounded by mostly 12,000 foot peaks. From Shannon Pass, the entire way down to Island Lake is flawless. One of the best stretches of trail I've ever even been on, just in general, is that section. Every lake along there is spectacular. Island Lake, Titcomb Basin, everything about those areas lives up to the hype. It's worth every bit of effort to get there. And then the other day or so, I mentioned that I didn't really think that the lakes on the trail from Elkhart to Island Lake, or Island Lake to Elkhart, were really that spectacular. And I just wanted to clarify that really all I meant is that during this trip I had seen so many breathtaking lakes and views with those lakes that the lakes from Island Lake down to Elkhart Trailhead, they really just kind of reminded me of, like, I guess, normal backpacking lakes to some degree, or just there wasn't as much ooh-ah to the scenery of those, and I would say that for probably every single one of the lakes along there. Yeah, I mean, there's some nice lakes in there for sure, but the camping's not nearly as good. I didn't really see a lot of camping on most of the lakes. Now, absolutely there is campsites, but just it wasn't as copious. So that was just my takeaway there. The trail from Elkhart down to Long Lake sucked, as I mentioned. Long Lake was beautiful and had plenty of camping, although you don't really get like the greatest view. From Long Lake up to Trapper Lake also sucked, and the trail was pretty boring. If it wasn't for that one viewpoint on the ridge, it would not have been very enjoyable at all. And it's even more rugged, I would say, than the trail leading from Elkhart down to Long Lake. So kind of keep that in mind. I mean, absolutely doable, but I literally saw one group on it, and they were pretty experienced local hikers too that had been out here in the winds for 30 years. But again, it's not like you can't do it. It's just, it's rugged. There is an immense amount of sagebrush that's just overflowing into the trail, and so yeah, it just kind of is what it is. It's a volunteer trail. They don't maintain it routinely, so keep that in mind. And then again, like I said, Trapper Lake is beautiful. Borum Lake is fantastic, and most of those other lakes, again, while they are pretty, I didn't really think it was anything too special. There is so many other lakes out there, though, adjacent to where I was, that I kind of have a good feeling, since they're a little higher up, are probably pretty spectacular. And yeah, so if my advice is kind of a couple of things. First off, the altitude is a real factor. I've hiked at altitude many of times, not necessarily Colorado or High Sierra altitude routinely, but I've been above 10,000 feet many of times, and this actually was a bit of a surprise to me how challenging it was. Even the little things were hard. Now, granted, I got a little wind behind me, if you will, going downhill and stuff, so that's what helped me get some of those really long days. But man, I tell you, going uphill here is just tough. Like, there's just no denying it. Every bit of it is tough. The other thing I would say is just be very conscientious of the weather out here. I couldn't have been luckier. I got when I left, I had a really nice looking 5-day window, and I got some updates from a buddy, and it said that it was going to get a little suspect on Saturday and Sunday. And granted, Sunday's today, so I'm not in the woods, but just be conscientious that the weather can change rapidly. Every single day it rained on me here, and that's with a really good forecast. And no matter who I talk to, if they were out here 3, 4 days before I was, they all said the same thing. They were still soaking wet. Most everyone spent a whole day in the tent. And the storms just get really nasty back here. So really keep that in mind. Like if your weather window isn't great, maybe reconsider it, because honestly, you're not going to have that great of a time. And it's going to just kick your ass. And the weather can get pretty significant here. I mean, it was 30 to 35 degrees every night as well. So just keep all that in mind. And then I think the last two things I'd say is going the direction that I went from Green Lakes to Island Lake, Elkhart, and then back is absolutely the direction to go. As I was hiking up or down, everyone was always going the opposite direction of me, and specifically from Island Lake to Elkhart, I never saw another person walking towards Elkhart. They were all walking towards Island Lake, and that was 30, 40 different people. And so if I was going the other direction, I really wouldn't want to be walking in that line of people, so to speak. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but the direction I went is no doubt, in my opinion, the way you want to go, from essentially north to south, south to north. So that's just food for thought. And then lastly, I just think September is really the time to be here. The bugs can get really horrid here. The storms in July can be really awful as well. And yeah, you're going to get wildflowers, and you're going to, have longer days and all sorts of good things. But the snow lingers around here often until August in a lot of places, and even longer than that at times in high areas. So post-holing is just going to be an issue often. And so for me, it was just September, like as I was completing this, was thinking, honestly, this is like when I want to be here every time I do come here. Because these cooler days, cool nights, and just the less people, the mosquitoes, it kind of just big picture wise, I think it plays out better in your favor. So that's just my 2 cents. I hope you guys like this video. I had a hell of a time out here. It whooped my butt, no doubt about it, but this place is beautiful, as you've been able to see, and I'll absolutely be back to the winds. And yeah, I just kind of got to find the right opportunity and window to make it happen. So yeah, for now, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.